pretty much on lockdown, and to see that video was just horrifying, I think, for most people. And I think we saw a reaction across the country and across the world really to that act. And here locally, we had a couple of protests that were put together in Sag Harbor, Bridgehampton, and right here in East Hampton, village at the Windmill, and actually in Montauk as well. Very peaceful and orderly protests, people exercising their constitutional rights to gather, to demand the government redress their grievances. And, that's part of our constitutional process. And, beyond that, the other part of our system in our democracy is the judicial system, which in, this particular case, I think was surprised to many people of color that this police officer actually was found guilty, because there have been numerous examples of cases where officers were never convicted of doing any wrong. And I can't, speak to the particulars of any of those other cases, but I think, most people felt in this particular case that this was extreme force used against somebody who was unarmed and resulted in a tragic situation for everyone. This is something that's reflected poorly on good cops all over the country. People are dedicated to keeping us safe and protected. So, I think everybody kind of breathed a bit of a sigh of relief, and many people on the reading of that verdict. And sentencing will, I believe, take place in June. But it's been a heck of a year.
It certainly has. And we have our first caller on the line, Peter. Jason, if you can send that caller in.
Hold up. Let me just get these buses working. Hello, caller ending in 0915. You're on the air. And they just left.
Well, that was an easy one. Let's
back to that topic that you brought up. I just think recently here we saw the defacing of a sign in Montauk, a sign that had been put up urging the community to stay safe, and showed a number of community members, photographs of them with masks, and a person of color was their picture was defaced on that sign. And I think the swift response to replace that sign and get it back up, and subsequent police investigation into that as a hate crime is appropriate. And I don't think we should tolerate in any way those types of acts that foster and harbor hate towards others of different colors, persuasions, or whatever. So we have a terrific community here, and a supportive community, and we need to continue to build on that.
That's for sure. Okay, Peter, I'm gonna read to you the first email question that I received. Again, folks, if you'd like to email the question instead, it's michaelclark@ltveh.org. So the question comes from Jeannie in East Hampton. It's why is the town not updating the current senior center rather than purchasing land and starting from scratch? Wouldn't that be quicker?
Yeah, actually, it wasn't quicker, and that's where we started quite a few years ago now. I think it was 2017 that we started with that, and there are a number of problems with that particular site. It's only roughly 2 acres and has the existing senior center parking. It also has a recreation area, and it was determined that we would probably have to seek an act of the New York State Legislature to be able to build the new senior center on that recreation area through what's called parkland alienation process, which can take at least a year and perhaps 2 years in some cases. There was also going to be a great deal of disruption to try and construct a new facility on that site while maintaining the existing programming for seniors. And we have really quite a few programs that we offer. Not only do we have a nutrition program where meals are served to seniors there at the site, but we also have adult daycare. We offer programs for health and wellness, yoga, etc. So we felt it would be too disruptive, that really would be trying to cram too much into what is a relatively small space. And it's on a major kind of industrial roadway where you have a lot of heavy equipment, dump trucks, highway department trucks, etc. Very heavily trafficked road. It's, aside from Route 27, it's the most heavily trafficked road in the entire town. And having our elderly and senior folks, having to make left turns in and out of, that senior center, I think we felt there had to be a better location after having a very robust search throughout town for a better location. We think we found it. We've been trying to acquire this property now for well over a year, and now have announced having signed a contract, and we'll be taking it to public hearing. But we made that announcement about this location, which is off Abraham's Path, next to the Sport Time Complex and ball fields at Terry King Park. We believe this is a really great location. So we look forward to hearing from the public about this location, and hopefully continuing to consummate that deal.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jeannie. I hope that answers your question. And Peter, we have that same caller back on the line. Go ahead, Jason.
One moment. Let me just unmute them. Hello, caller ending in 0915. You're on the air. 1 second. Oh, 1 second. Wait. Hold up. Sorry, wait. Hold. Hello, caller. You are on the air. You're unmuted now.
Good afternoon. It's Michael Hansen from Wayne-Scott. I had some technical difficulties a moment ago.
Yep. Sorry about that. That was on my end. I was trying to unmute you, and that's on me.
No worries.
Hello, Michael.
My question, how are you? My question is, I live in Wayne-Scott. I'm looking forward to the discussion of the Wayne-Scott Hamlet study, which I believe is May 4. And what is, the whole thing's important to me, but the immediate concern is the stoplight at Montauk Highway and Wayne-Scott Northwest Road. When I'm in my car and the light turns green for me, I never go out. I always look, which is advice from my grandfather. And because cars will be accelerating when the light turns yellow. I know the Hamlet study has, Hamlet plan has a roundabout in that location, which I am all for. That would make life really so much safer for a lot of us in Wayne-Scott. It would slow down traffic, but it would keep the traffic moving. The benefits of roundabouts are clear. There's clear evidence of them. So my question is, because that is on the Hamlet study, can that be one of the first projects? Because I know it might take a little longer because the Montauk Highway is a state road. The process to implement it might be a little longer. How can we get that moving along?
So that, in my opinion, and I've mentioned this before when we talked about moving forward with the Wayne-Scott Hamlet plan, is that those basic infrastructure needs and projects need to be looked at first, because we need to have that traffic flow planned for ahead of any further development or redevelopment in that former sand pit area, to be able to better accommodate flow between properties within the business district, as well as that intersection with Montauk Highway. Montauk Highway is our busiest roadway within town. You well know, if you're a Waynescott resident, all the pitfalls that there are with the light, but if you can read, I don't know if you were around before the light, but it was even worse then, safety wise. And, it's always good advice before pulling out on a roadway, whether there's a light involved or not, to look both ways. Somebody may be trying to blow through that light. But that's a really important part of infrastructure and future planning for Waynescott, is the intersection of those undeveloped areas with the highway. And so I think that's one of the first areas that we really will start in earnest to sort out. And as you rightly pointed out, it is a state highway, so any planning and development will require partnership with the state.
Thank you. And I do remember that intersection before that light, and like every week there was broken windshield glass everywhere. So it was an improvement, but we need to go a step further. Thank you.
Thank you for calling in, Michael, and be well.
That's really that's a light that I'm accustomed to, as pulling out of here at LTV, use that light often. So I understand. I didn't know a roundabout was actually even part of that equation or a thought process. So that's really good to know. That's for sure.
So we'll certainly be doing some further investigation and planning with the roundabout there. There's also roundabouts planned in Montauk as well. There's long been roundabout talked about at Stephen Hansen Long Lane as well. That intersection is a very busy and dangerous intersection now, and there's not really enough distance there to put a four-way stop, because that traffic would immediately back up and gridlock at the light at 114. So, to the caller stated that there's a dual purpose for roundabouts. They do tend to slow the traffic down, but they also keep it moving, even though at a slower pace. And so the backups versus a traffic light are much, much less.
Right.
That roundabout on Scuttle Hole Road by, I think it's Mitchell's Lane. In Southampton, that used to be a nightmare trying to get to Bridgehampton Commons and back. Since the roundabout came in, there's never really a backup there.
The other one, that's the I don't even know if it's classified a roundabout, which is where there's 5 different roads coming in.
Yeah, the Amoebic Village, Toilsome Lane, Buell Lane extension, that 5 corners, 114. That actually, it's a crazy looking thing, but it's really worked, I think, quite well compared to what was going on there before.
It's really interesting the first time you go through it.
It is. Yeah.
That's for sure. I know you talked, Peter, a little bit at a recent work session about, and you and I have talked about this when we were doing Vaccine 5, on the impact of the legalization of marijuana in New York State and the impact on the East End. And I know it's very premature and there's a lot of questions that still need to be answered. But the Shinnecock Reservation, they've announced that they're going to be cultivating and ready by the end of the year. So what thoughts has the town board given to that?
So we did discuss it briefly at our 420 work session.
Appropriately, yeah.
Appropriate, right? But I think we want to take a careful look at it. We want to have an open conversation with the community about it. Marijuana is now decriminalized, legalized, personal use, growing your own to certain quantities legal. And I think overall that's a good thing, because I think the prohibition actually led to a greater criminal element surrounding that. And this really fostered and helped cartels proliferate. That's not a good thing. As far as having, pot shops and places to consume marijuana in town, that's something each municipality will have to decide upon. The municipality can opt out, and they have until December 31st to do so. If they want to, and that's if they do opt out, that is something that can be challenged through a permissive referendum process, where a petition can be submitted with at least 5% of the number of voters that there were in the previous gubernatorial election on the petition. And if the town or other municipality would like to hold a referendum, they would first need to opt out in order to hold a referendum. And if they wanted to do it by the November election, it would really need to be a local law opting out, I think, prior to September. But we're going to continue to do our research and our due diligence. A lot of the regulations are still being promulgated. The licensing processes are not yet, I think, fully clarified, and we're gonna take our time with it. I know I've received emails from people urging us to opt out, to not allow for those types of businesses to occur in town. And I've had people who want to open those types of businesses contacting me, urging me not to opt out. But we're going to take our time and try and get the pulse of the community, and follow up on it. So we'll have further discussions moving forward.
Well, thanks, Peter. And as a reminder to everyone, the idea behind this show is to give the community a better understanding of how local government works through direct conversation with the town's top official, Peter Van Squack. So we'll do this weekly. It's live on Wednesdays at 2:00, and it may be also be rebroadcast at other times. So feel free to call in. The number is up on the screen there. And or you can email us at, again, Michael Clark at ltveh.org. And we'd be happy to throw those questions up. What else is going on, Peter, in the town? What do you think is the big bigger issue now?
Well, I think COVID is still a primary focus, and it's really having impacts on the community. There are, restrictions in place as to how businesses can operate. Those are being relaxed somewhat. We've gotten word that, museums, aquariums, zoos, and botanical gardens, there'll be an increase to 50% beginning April 26th. These guidelines are continually changing, so it's a little bit of a challenge to both keep up with them and get that information out to the public. Large scale arenas and event venues, that capacity will increase to 25% beginning May 19th. Here locally, we had that beloved Stephen Talk House has opened up with some live music after a year of being closed, essentially, albeit at a 30% occupancy. But I think welcome return of live music and musicians applying their art is a great sign. We hope that we'll be able to continue to see progress. The infection rates have they plateaued for a while. We're running somewhere between I think a 3.5% infection rate here in Suffolk County. Hospitalizations have dropped. Hampton Hospital, as of today, had 8 patients. I believe 2 of those were intubated in ICU. That's a big change from the spike in January. I think we were around 35 patients in Southampton Hospital. We're continuing to give vaccinations at our site in Wainscott. Between Saturday and Tuesday, another 1,500 doses were given. We had a pod on Saturday that the town ran with the help of our many volunteers. And I know, Michael, you volunteered in the past, and thank you for that. And, we did, I think, 679 doses that day. Southampton Stony Brook Medicine came to our site to do a second dose pod. Yesterday, I think they had 789 doses that were 793 doses that were administered throughout the day by their staff. And we assisted with some volunteers. So Councilman Lease actually attended the town board meeting from CDCH via the internet. So he was boots on the ground there for us yesterday. We're expecting a very busy summer. There have been a lot of people here throughout the winter, and there likely to be even more, obviously, during the summer. And so we're preparing for that. We're getting ready to get our beaches open, hiring our beach staff, looking at the protocols and making those adjustments that are necessary. We talked about outdoor dining and restaurants quite a bit in our business recovery committee. We have a couple of restaurateurs, we have hospitality business owners, hotels, whatnot, and we're all expecting a busy season, but there's still guidelines in place, and we're making sure that we're communicating those with business owners and the public. We still need to be careful. We're not through this yet, but we do think we can have a very successful and enjoyable summer season, and encourage people to, help us do that.
I just received it's actually an affordable housing question from a Gloria in Riverhead. And she says, let's see, what are you doing about helping local workers to get housing here? It will help lessen the traffic coming in and out of town and help the environment too, which is a very good point. Less cars on the road, right? But so I guess, Gloria, you're caught up in the trade parade in the morning. So what's happening with that, Peter?
Well, I mean, we're experiencing a housing crisis. It was a crisis, frankly, before the pandemic, and it's only gotten worse. Housing prices have continued to increase, really huge increases. One measure of that is, I think we had a $7 million of revenue for CPF for the month of February alone.
Wow.
This record-setting numbers, and that means there's even less rental housing available. The town's been very proactive in seeking properties to acquire for development of future projects. We've worked with the Housing Authority, which is looking at 60-unit, 16-acre development off 3 Mile Harbor. We have 8.5 acres off of Stephen Hand's path, off of Route 114. We just acquired 12 acres off of Pantago Road. And so now it's development time. We need to move forward with getting those projects going. But at the same time, we continue to lose houses in affordable neighborhoods, which are being demolished and replaced with much larger, more expensive homes. So it truly is challenging. And as far as the transportation side, I've been working with Fred Thiel and Long Island Railroad to reinstitute Southport commuter connection, which alleviates, some of that trade parade traffic on the highway every day to and from. That was really helping quite a bit. I think the ridership was over 40,000 when the pandemic struck. So we're hoping that the railroad will be able to start that up again very soon. So that would be beneficial. We've continued to, create opportunities for affordable housing by having affordable apartments allowed within homes, apartments above businesses. But people have to be willing to rent out those spaces as well. So we know it's a serious problem, and it's one that we're going to continue to try and address as best we can.
Yeah, I'm an affordable housing recipient from about 35 years ago. I'm a part of that, and still living in the house. It was a great thing. It was probably even at that time, the only way that I would been able to afford to live in East Hampton. And so it's a great program, and anything that we can do to expand that and keep that going, that's all for the good, without a doubt. But it's definitely a crisis, as you said. So
You know,
I think,
and
go
it was difficult. I mean, you talked about your the recipient, and we see what a difference that makes in a community. I mean, it's great having you in the community, Michael.
thank you very much.
And I'm glad that happened. And I have to tell you that my wife and I, early on in our marriage, we moved, I think, 6 times in 2.5 years,
Right.
because of housing issues then in this town. And it was tough then, but it's certainly gotten much harder since then. So.
Right. And we have about, I think we have about a minute left here. And I know over at Windmill Village, they're doing they're thinking about, possible expansion over there as well. I know that I've been talking to Jerry Mooney, good friend Jerry, and Kathy Burns over there about some of the thoughts that they have.
I actually met with them earlier today with the Windmill board members and some of the staff and our town planning staff, taking a look at ways that we might, expand that project.
Well, maybe we could expand on that a little bit next week, Peter. But I want to thank you for once again taking the time out of your busy day and giving the public an opportunity to call in or to email in, as they did.
Yeah.
So. Thank you for doing that.
My pleasure, and I'm going to try to put together some theme music for intro and exit on the next show.
Okay, there's
Thanks
nothing like a little heavy metal, Peter, for the Ask the
Is that what you
Supervisor.
like?
Well, we'll see.
Okay.
Well, listen, have yourself a good day, and thank you, everybody. Thanks for those who tuned in and called in, and we'll see you at the same time next week. Have a good day.
And stay safe and be well, everyone.